You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. Next, we're going to be talking firstly to Duane and Caz. We're going to be talking to them all about Ashfest. Also, John, who's a bit more of a regular visitor, we'll be talking to him a little bit later on all about his band as well. But firstly, both you welcome along to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, good evening.
Right, so we're going to be talking all about Ashfest, which took place on Saturday. I was hoping you can tell us what it was actually all about.
It was an all-day music festival that's been organised for a couple of years now, and to raise funds for the Victoria Cross Trust in memory of my son James, who was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross when he was killed in action in Afghanistan. We had an acoustic set on the decking outside all afternoon, which was followed by an electric set inside with bands in the evening. We had 4 bands playing, and the good thing is all of them provided their time for free for us to not impact the charity.
So did you organise it?
No, it was organised by a family friend of ours, Sean, who's a musician who lives in Gravesend. He came up with the idea just after James was killed when he played in Corby for another charity event we did, and he's just taken it from that and grown it.
I was next to ask you why Ashfest?
Well, obviously I'm known as Ash because of my surname, but also so was James. So Sean thought it'd be fitting as a tribute to James, call it Ashfest, which kind of works.
So I was hoping you could next talk me through the lineup.
Well, early in the afternoon we had an acoustic set with a local lad called Lee Birchall, who popped down at the pub one night for our open mic night, and we booked him on several occasions since then. who is really, really good for his age. We also had Graham Oakey from Herne Bay and Nick Woods from Gravesend, and in the evening we had a new sheppey band called the Rockin Decades, the Paul Cook Blues Band from Gravesend, a brilliant Essex covers band called Overdue, and we finished with the Upstarts from Dartford. Overdue stepped in at the last minute for us to replace a band called Wince, which stands for Whiskey's Notorious Tenacious Substitute, but unfortunately the Army couldn't give them the time off to play our venue as well, but they did play the previous week in Greenhithe. We had sheppey DJ Paul Fox, or Dr. Paul Fox, as he likes to be known. And he was all there all day with his Electric Avenue disco, filling in spaces and introducing the bands for us all day long. We had a fantastic atmosphere all day long. And at the end of the evening, we managed to raise £720, I think it was. But we also had the fortune of winning the sweepstake on the World Cup last night, which we're going to add to bring it up to £1,000.
We're at the moment talking to Duane and Caz, and they're telling us all about Ashfest, which took place at the Beach Hotel on Saturday. They're letting us know about how it went and information all about that. And I was hoping you could next tell us where the money goes.
Okay, the Victoria Cross Trust, it's a relatively new charity that was set up in October 2011. And what we do is seek out neglected graves of war heroes who've been awarded Britain's highest military honour, the Victoria Cross. The majority of these graves are neglected and don't have any family to look after them, so we try and get them restored to the standard that they should be seen, where their history can be carried on forever. But unfortunately each one costs between £2,000 and £25,000 a time. And at the moment there's 548 VC graves in Britain, there's 29 in Kent, and nearly 300 of them are in desperate need of maintenance. I always thought before that they were looked after by the Commonwealth War Graves Commissions, but that's not the case, because the majority of the awardees didn't die in battle. So they died generally of old age, but they don't have any family left now that are attending the graves for them. Those that do have living relatives generally can't afford to maintain the graves either. So the trust, we need to raise the money so that we can get all these recipients of the medal to be done properly, and so they can be honoured and remembered by our future generations. After I helped launch an appeal in the Sun, the government has promised £100,000 and pledged to match that for every pound that's donated through our Just Giving pages. So every pound is worth £2.40 to us, really, with gift aid. The money's a massive boost, and it was fantastic news. But our priority is really this year to get the First World War graves done as part of this year's centenary. And my reasoning behind it for getting behind the trust was, if in 80 years' time James's grave was in any condition of some of the ones that are around nowadays, I'd be absolutely devastated. But the trust's not just about the graves. What we try and also do is educate people in the local area, and try and get a local school involved where the kids can learn about what the actual valour of the guys were. They're national heroes and they should be treated as such. So we need to educate people to obviously the graves and their acts of bravery.
I was hoping next you could tell me a little bit about James.
Well, James was just a normal lad that joined the army, followed in my footsteps into the 1st Battalion Grenadier Guards. While he was serving with the Grenadier Guards, he then did a spate with 3 para in the Guards parachute platoon, where he went to Afghanistan the first time. Obviously returned, went back to the battalion, did his stint outside Buckingham Palace doing the Royal duties, and then they returned to Afghanistan. Unfortunately, during one of the actions that they were taking part in, James decided to put himself on the line and he had the last grenade left of the platoon that day, to try and get the remaining sniper that they were after for the day. But unfortunately, as he was about to throw it, he was shot. Obviously, he let go of the grenade when he was unconscious, and the explosion killed him. But on his citation, from the army, it reads that this supremely courageous and inspiring last gallant action of a soldier who had willingly placed himself in the line of fire on numerous occasions deserves the highest recognition. James is the 14th person to be awarded the Victoria Cross since the end of the Second World War. It was also the 14th Grenadier to be awarded as well. But it was first awarded for actions in the Crimean War of 1854 to 55. And there's been one other since James, an Australian fella. But at the moment, James is the last British soldier to be awarded.
Now, we've been talking about Ashfest, and I know you were also going to let us know about some other things happening at the pub.
Yeah, next month on Sunday the 24th of August, we've got a family fun day. We had one last year. Hopefully we can top it this year. We're going to have live music again outside on the decking, hopefully weather permitting. Our main act that we're going to have called the Beach Boys. It's a Beach Boys tribute act, and everyone gave us really great feedback on them last year, so we've booked them again for this year. Bounce castle, hog roast, barbecue. We're looking for someone to do some kids face painting. The Victoria Cross stall can't make it this year, but we're hoping to get something up and running for them where we can sell their t-shirts, hopefully raise some money selling the merchandise, and hopefully have a great day for the families. Everyone can bring their kids along, and I don't know, hopefully just needs good weather again like we had this weekend.
Well, I hope it is. I was hoping you could, just before we finish off, go over those useful contact details for us.
Okay, you can donate to the charity through victoriacrosstrust.org. On there you can also buy merchandise and see what work we've done and we've got coming up. They're also on the Facebook page and Twitter. Just search Victoria Cross Trust. And if you want to get in touch with us at the pub, you can do that through www.thebeachbarhotel.co.uk or again on our Twitter or Facebook pages.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much to both of you for coming along this evening and telling us all about Ashfest and its background and how it went. And we're next going to be talking to one of the band members of a band who was actually in Ashfest. We're going to be talking to John. Firstly, welcome along to the show.
Good evening, Daniel. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. I was hoping you can perhaps tell us how it went for you.
Oh, I thought it went really well. It was a great atmosphere at Ashfest, and we opened the evening session, so that was quite awe-inspiring, really, to sort of start the crowd. But it was good. It was a little bit worrying because it was kind of a dry run for us, because we had two new singers which both made their debut on Saturday. One's Lucy, who's, well, by the name, I guess you will know, it's a girl singer, and before that we had an all-male lineup, so that sort of changed the dynamics of the band quite considerably, and it means that we can do songs which we couldn't do before. So she's working on now a version of Susie Q's Devilgate Drive, which is quite awesome, but we certainly couldn't do that without her. And then the Sunday before, we're kind of like a rolling stone, actually, I suppose, but gathering lots of moss. We were contacted by another singer who wanted to join us, called Richard Ginn, which, for my money, is a really good name. And he came to rehearsal on the Sunday before Ashfest. And we just loved him to bits. He's really great. So we dragged him along to Saturday as well. So it's the first time the pair of them were singing together and with us. And incredibly, it went really well.
Which is good to hear. Now, you're called the Rockin Decades. Have you always been called that?
Well, that's a very good point. No, for a while we were called the Wrinklies because all us chaps are of a certain age. I think the youngest is sort of 45, which is no age, but the oldest is 72. So we thought it was quite a good wheeze to be called the Wrinklies. But then when Lucy came, I don't know what it is about girls and women, but they don't really want to be called Wrinklies. So we sort of bowed to a better judgment, and we went to a vote, and we decided to have a new name. And it's also quite useful because the Rockin Decades, it actually, we do what it says on the tin. We start from about the 50s and 60s and work our way up through the 70s and 80s, and we even do a couple of songs from the 90s. We haven't actually got to the noughties yet, but that's for another couple of days, I think.
And I think you next are going to tell us a little bit about how you actually all got together.
Yeah, it's a funny old story. It's probably not like most bands get together. I suppose a lot of bands get together when they're sort of at school in the teens, and but we all got together quite late in the day. I'll take you back about sort of 2 or 3 years ago when I was editing the Canterbury Times over in Canterbury. And got a press release come in from Simon Langton Girls' Grammar School saying that they'd got a bit of money for the community, and they wanted to do a rock school. And the music teacher there, Nick Davies, he reckoned that the youngsters, the teenagers, had enough already. So he decided to have a rock school for the older people, the Wrinklies, as I called them. And he started holding it on a Saturday morning. And I just liked this so much that I went along to write a piece about it and fell in love with the idea and signed up there and then. And it was for chaps and women who probably had been in a band when they were youngsters and then got married, had children, couldn't do it anymore. And it's quite difficult when you sort of reach a certain age. And you think, well, where do I go to join a band? And you go to music shops, and there's usually a little sort of postcard somewhere saying band wanted, but they usually say sort of 16-year-old wanted for indie punk, and none of us really like that. So I went along and met a couple of like-minded people, and from there we created the Wrinklers. We started gigging, which was great fun, and then over the years it sort of progressed, and we've had different lead singers. And now we've got, there's about, I can't remember now, 5-6 pieces with us. Our oldest is Ron Green, who is 72, I mentioned earlier on. He's from Faversham, and he's an ex-builder. We've got Phil Packer from Sittingbourne, who I don't know what he does. He mends roads, and he goes out at night, in dead of darkness, to mend the roads. And we've got 2 University of Kent business lecturers. We've got Mark on drums and Duane, who's from Malaysia, on bass. And he's a bit like Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones. He just sort of stands there with this inscrutable smile and doesn't say anything, although he's got a really good voice and he's brilliant at harmonies. And then, as I said, we've got Lucy, who's just joined us from Ashford, and Richard, who's turned up from Eastry, which is somewhere near Sandwich. And there's little old me playing guitar from the sun-kissed Isle of Sheppey.
I was wondering, John, where actually do you all rehearse?
Well, because we are sort of spread out over Kent so much, we've had to go for somewhere central. So we found a little recording and rehearsal studio in Canterbury. It's hidden almost behind Lenley's furniture store, if you know where that is. I think it's called West Street Studios. But it's a quaint little place. It's in a little courtyard, hidden from view. It's run by. It gets a grant from the government, so it looks after sort of young people. So that's why we went there, obviously. And it's quite sweet because it has rainwater collected in a tank upstairs, which feeds the toilet system, and it's got photoelectric cells all over the roof for powering the equipment. And it's great because we turn up on a Sunday morning for 3 hours, and it has a drum set there. It has its own built-in PA, so all we have to do is take in our back line of amplifiers and just set up the mics, and we're away.
I was going to say, that's probably one of the hardest things if you've got to take all your equipment there. I was just imagining, so that I assume makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's one of the worst things about actually gigging. I mean, the gigging and playing live is just brilliant. You know, the adrenaline and the atmosphere and the crowd cheering is what we do it for. But of course, there's about an hour, if we're lucky, before that, where we're humping in the speakers and the amplifiers and the mixers. And then another hour at the end when everybody else is going home that we're still sort of putting the gear back in the van. And it's bad enough on a sort of hot summer's day, but when it's sort of a winter's day and it's raining and windy, that's probably the worst bit about a live band.
So where are you going to be next?
Well, we're out and about this Saturday coming. Is that the 19th of July?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, and we're across the water from Sheppey in Whitstable at the Horsebridge Centre in Whitstable. It's the third time we've played there. Twice before as the Wrinklers. This is the first time we've played as the Rockin Decades, and the first time that we've got Lucy and Richard. So it should be really great. And it's a double bill. opening for us is a crooner from Herne Bay called Martin Farbrother. I'm sure some of your listeners will have heard of him. He's really popular. He's done some shows over on Sheppey at the Criterion Theatre in Bluetown. I think he's done Minster Working Men's Club, certainly done the area hotel. And we've worked with him in the past because it just seems to go really well with a bit of rock and roll with us and a bit of what he calls Rat Pack crooning for him. We've called it Rock and Rat Pack Live. It's a special show on Saturday. And you know, Chaz and Dave, they did a kind of rock and roll and cockney, and they called it Rockney. Well, we're doing rock and roll and crooning, and we've dubbed it Crockney. But yeah, that's at the Horse Bridge from 7 o'clock, and we've still got a few tickets available if people would like to come along. It's £10 in advance, £12 on the door, and that's at the Horsebridge Centre in Horsebridge Road, Whitstable. It's right on the beach. It's brilliant fun. If you go over there for Whitstable for the day, have a paddle on the beach, and then come and see us in the evening. You can get the tickets from a phone number. It's 01227 281174, so it's 01227 281174, or the Horsebridge website, which is www.horsebridge-centre.org.uk, and it'd be great to see all our friends over there.
Well, John, if you're happy we've covered everything, I'd like to thank you very much for coming along and telling us all about how you're getting on with your band.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for playing Slade's Come On Feel the Noise, because we've been rehearsing that like mad, and we'll be debuting that on Saturday as well, along with Susie Q's Devilgate Drive.
John, as always, thank you very, very much, and we hope to speak to you soon.